Well, of course. Almost everybody is looking for help. Unless, when I was younger, so much younger than today, I never needed anybody's help in any way. But there is this feeling of a certain helplessness, of being alone and somewhat confused in an unpredictable, wayward, external world of happenings. And this world of happenings includes an enormous amount of suffering, tragedy, and we wonder why we're here, how we got here, and in short, what to do about the capital P problem of capital L life, to which should be added death, because it seems to be certain that we're all going to die, and that death may be a painful process. Those we love are going to die, and so what about it? Is there any way in which we can become masters of the situation? Well, there are all sorts of ways of trying to escape from the human predicament of being a lonely, isolated consciousness in the midst of this enormous and wayward not-self. We can, of course, try to beat the game on a material basis by becoming very wealthy or very powerful. We may resort to all kinds of technology to get rid of our sufferings, hunger, pain, sickness, and so forth. But it will be noticed that as we succeed in these enterprises, we're not satisfied. In other words, if you feel at this moment that an increase in income would solve your problems, and you got an increase in income, this would give you a pleasant feeling for a few weeks. But then, as you well know, if that's ever happened to you, the feeling wears off. And you may stop worrying about paying your debts and start worrying about whether you will get sick. There is always something to worry about. And so you realize that the problem of life does not really consist in your external circumstances, because you worry whatever they are. The problem consists rather in what you call your mind. Could you, by some method, control your mind so that you won't worry? And how on earth would you do that? Well, there are those people who tell you that the best answer is to think positive thoughts, to be peaceful, to breathe slowly and hum gently, and get yourself into a peaceful state of mind by repeating affirmations. But unfortunately, it doesn't always work, because you have a nagging suspicion in the back of your mind that you're simply hypnotizing yourself and whistling in the dark. And so you realize that this matter of controlling the mind is no superficial undertaking, because although you may be able to smooth the ruffles of your consciousness, there is beneath that a vast area of unconsciousness which erupts as unpredictably as events in the external world. And so you consider seriously the possibilities of psychoanalysis. And then, of course, you get into the guru business. You have to go to someone against whose mirror you can reflect those aspects of yourself of which you are not directly aware. So as the process goes on, you find there is something awkward about all this. And this awkwardness can be expressed in many different ways. One of them is this: how on earth are you to get at yourself, to do something about yourself? If you are the one who needs to be improved, how are you going to accomplish the improvement? It's like saying you must relax. Let go. Give in. And I know I ought to give in. I know I ought to let go and abandon my will. In other words, we all come down to a basis in ourselves which we will call the Yetzer Hara, or the wayward spirit which God is supposed to have put into the soul of Adam, our element of irreducible rascality. So we do have that element in ourselves. We know it very well. And And the question is, therefore, once again, how can it be transformed? But if the transformer is the one who is afflicted, who transforms the transformer? It's the old problem of who guards the guards, who polices the policeman, who governs the government. And it seems perfectly insoluble for that reason alone that it is a vicious circle. That there's a great deal of talk about two selves, the lower self or ego, the higher self called the spirit or the Atman, and the duty of the Atman seems to be to transform the wretched little ego. Well, sometimes it does, but a lot of times it doesn't. So we ask, why doesn't so-and-so's Atman succeed in getting through? Is his ego too strong? If so, who will weaken it? Is his Atman too weak? And if so, why? For surely aren't all Atmans the same? The puzzle remains. We're trying to get better. We are out after that type of experience which we will call the positive, the good, the light, the living, and to get away from the negative, the evil, the dark, and the dead. Unfortunately, however, human experience, human consciousness, knows by contrast. We, equipped with a nervous system where the neurons either fire or don't fire. All that we are aware of is made up of an extremely complicated arrangement of yes and no. And by recording on magnetic tape impulses, there are areas where there is a pulse and there are areas where there is not a pulse. And by so doing, we can tape almost any form of human experience in terms of combinations of the yang, or positive principle, and the yin, or the negative principle. But you see what we are trying to do. We are trying to have yang without yin. We are trying to arrange a life game in which there is winning without losing. A game in which everybody wins, not realizing that we would not recognize saints unless there were sinners, or sages unless there were fools. And there is no way out of that dilemma. And that's why there is always the sense of the more you succeed in any scale of either worldly or spiritual progress, the more you have the haunting feeling that you're still in the same place. So you think, now there must be some way out of that. And therefore, perhaps the thing to do is to try to eliminate all desire. Not only the desire for worldly success, but likewise the desire for spiritual success. For the Buddha proposed that desire was the root of suffering, and therefore suggested to his hearers that if they eliminated desire or clinging, they might cease from suffering. And if you go away and try not to desire in any way, you will very quickly discover that you are desiring not to desire. And so we very rapidly come to a situation where you discover that with regard to your own transformation, everything you try to do about it doesn't work. And yet, therefore, you have to practice non-doing, as the Taoists call it, wu wei, non-striving. But then you find in turn that it's extraordinarily difficult not to strive. And so you come to the dismal conclusion that you can neither achieve what you want to achieve, that is to say, liberation from the alternation of the opposites, by striving, nor can you achieve it by not striving. And thereby you learn. You cannot concentrate on purpose.
I've often said that I wished people could realize all their dreams in wealth and fame, and so that they could see that it's not where you're going to find your sense of completion.
So many chase the dream, fame, fortune, admiration, believing it holds the key to happiness. But what happens when you reach the summit and still feel incomplete? In this video, Jim Carrey pulls back the curtain on success, revealing that the real fulfillment we seek isn't found out there. It's uncovered within.
I believe that I had to become a famous, idea.
Yeah.
And get all the stuff that people dream about, and accomplish a bunch of things that, that look like success in order to give up my attachment to those things. It's been a part of the evolution of ego is to spend your first half of your life acquiring and adding, thinking you can add to yourself, and it looks great. I mean, it looks great when you got a cool car and you got good, nice clothes, and and you've done something that people admire.
Jim got to this point in his life by helping people feel free. Even if it was just for a moment, he played the role of someone unburdened, so others could believe it was possible for themselves. But behind the laughter and recognition, he realized he had yet to offer that same freedom to himself.
When I was about 28, after a decade as a professional comedian, I realized one night in LA that the purpose of my life had always been to free people from concern. Choosing to free people from concern got me to the top of a mountain. Look where I am. Look what I get to do. Everywhere I go. I'm going to get emotional because when I tap into this, it really is extraordinary to me. I did something that made people present their best selves to me wherever I go. I am at the top of the mountain, and I was, and the only one I hadn't freed was myself.
I played the guy that was free from concern so that people who watched me would be free from concern.
And that's when my search for identity deepened. I wondered who I'd be without my fame. Who would I be if I said things that people didn't want to hear?
We don't matter.
You're supposed to say, we're important. You're supposed to say, it's all going to be all right. And you're supposed to say that, whatever you dream can come true. And you're supposed to say all those things. I do believe in manifestation, power of that kind of stuff. But I don't believe that any of it matters. This mattering is to me a human construct.
I used to think Jim Carrey is all that I was. Just a flickering light, a dancing shadow, the great nothing masquerading as something you can name.
We all wear masks, roles we play to be accepted, admired, or loved. But what if even your most celebrated self is just another role?
I don't exist. So they're all characters that I've played, including Jim Carrey, including Joel Barish, including any of those things. They're all characters. Jim Carrey was a less intentional character, right? Because I thought I was just building something that people would like, but it was a character.
Because ultimately, we're not the avatars we create. We're not the pictures on the film stock. We are the light that shines through. All else is just smoke and mirrors, distracting, but not truly compelling.
Everything is divine. There's no thing that isn't divine. Everything is divine, and I'm that. I'm not the body. I'm you guys, and I'm this thing, and I'm this thing, and I'm the cameras, and it doesn't matter to me what's happening on them. Sometimes I still have the groove cut in me that wants my hair to look nice.
Right.
It's an ancient thing. Yeah. There's still ego there, but I don't. I'm finding that ultimately the freedom from it is is something people are kind of hungry for in a way. Right. They're like, I don't want to be me either.
Right.
You know, and I go, well, great, because you never have been.
To find real peace, you have to let the armor go. Your need for acceptance can make you invisible in this world. Don't let anything stand in the way of the light that shines through this form. Risk being seen in all of your glory. Our eyes are not viewers, they are also projectors that are running a second story over the picture that we see in front of us all the time. Fear is writing that script, and the working title is, I'll Never Be Enough.
When fear writes the script, it turns our lives into performances, constantly chasing approval, perfection, and worthiness. But the soul can only carry that weight for so long. What follows isn't weakness, it's a signal, and often that quiet collapse we label as depression is really the beginning of something far more honest.
People talk about depression all the time. The difference between depression and sadness is just, you know, from happenstance. Whatever happened or didn't happen for you, or, you know, grief or whatever it is. And depression is your body saying, F you, I don't want to be this character anymore. I don't want to hold up this avatar that you've created in the world. It's too much for me.
Right.
You know? And so a friend of mine who's a spiritual teacher has a really good take. His name is Jeff Foster, and his take on it is that you should think of the word of depressed as deep rest. Deep rest. Your body needs to be depressed. It needs deep rest from the character that you've been trying to play.
Right.
You know, the great and powerful Oz. I'm the great and powerful Oz. How dare you come near me?
The ego whispers that we're not enough yet, that we need more and have to do more. This chase never ends. Jim reminds us, true peace doesn't come from achievement. It comes from releasing the need to prove anything at all.
This is the voice
Of the ego.
and if you listen to it, there will always be someone who's doing better than you. No matter what you gain, ego will not let you rest. It will tell you that you cannot stop until you've left an indelible mark on the earth, until you've achieved immortality. How tricky is this ego that it would tempt us with the promise of something we already possess?
The happy place is realizing that you're everything, you know, and that there's no real you involved in the first place.
You know, the only thing that separates you from an African American or an African Canadian is an idea, you know, and the weather,
Right.
you know, and the adaptation to the climate. And whatever it is, I don't believe in any of it. And so the feeling of wholeness is a different feeling than meanness.
Wholeness isn't found in who we think we are. It begins when we loosen our grip on the idea of me, and in that stillness, something remarkable happens. The need to be someone fades, and what's left is simply being. But the mind resists this silence, creating ghosts of the future and shadows of the past. Anything to avoid the truth that the only moment that truly exists is now.
I believe that peace lies beyond personality, beyond invention and disguise.
You can spend your whole life imagining ghosts, worrying about the pathway to the future, but all there will ever be is what's happening here, and the decisions we make in this moment, which are based in either love or fear. So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm saying, I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it. Please.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
The reason we're on this planet is to do our work, whatever that is, whatever our part is, to play our part in this giant symphony. When it goes from the thing you love to the thing you do for work, it's an issue. We can live in a way where we're living in an artful way, where we're engaged and paying attention, making each choice count, or we can live almost like sleepwalking through the day. In service to the audience, they have to come last.
Yeah.
If we're trying to make it for them, it won't be the best thing it can get. It'll water it down. The process of making something for someone else undermines it.
Many people approach art with a hidden agenda, the desire to be accepted. But when approval becomes the mission, the art loses its soul. The need for acceptance is also present in everyday life. What's ironic is that acceptance comes most naturally when we stop trying to please and simply allow ourselves to be who we are.
People like to be accepted. People want to be accepted. And I'm suggesting in the book that the best way to be accepted is to be yourself. It's not to change yourself to what someone else thinks. First of all, you don't really know what someone else thinks. And if you're not genuine to yourself, there's like nothing is there. It's just a projection or a mask. It's not true. And there's something about authenticity. The only way we can learn anything is through the reality of seeing what's around us and learning there are these different points of view around us. If we're all thinking the same thing, it's boring. Why would we make anything if everyone thinks the same thing? What makes us interesting are the differences. And even the imperfections. You know, you may hear a song about someone who has terrible heartbreak, and you may not be experiencing terrible heartbreak. But hearing them honestly talk about a human experience, even one that we're not having, can make us cry, can make us resonate with them, can give us a better understanding of the world.
Absolutely.
And we're not all everything, you know, we're all only us. Each of us is ourselves.
What makes art beautiful is the unique perspective we have on the world as individuals. There is no right or wrong way to see the world. Just like there is no right or wrong way to create art, make decisions, or live life. We are all expressions of the universe, and the most important thing we can do is express ourselves authentically.
I don't know what other people are going to think. I can't know what other people are going to think. But this is how I see it. And I want to show you how I see it. That's my purpose here on the planet, is to show you how I see it. And then I want to see how you see it. And where do they line up and where are they different? And that's how we make sense of the world. We all have a story. We all have something to say. And we can all learn from each other. And it comes from each of our life experiences, which are different. We each have our own family origin story. We each have our own places that we grew up, the things that we saw. We could go and do the same thing together and then get back and discuss what we saw and see two completely different things. And it's not like one of us is right and one of us is wrong. We're just noticing different things. There's so many data points to take in, and we each take in the ones that speak to us.
Everything Rick is saying boils down to one common message: follow your inner guide.
Don't do things just because you think you're going to get something for it. That's not why we do things.
Yeah.
Do what's interesting to you. Follow what's interesting. Don't worry about the outcome.
Yeah.
We don't know. We can't predict the outcome. We can never predict the outcome. Follow your own inner guide. It directs us. It might not make sense. Might not make sense to us. Might not make sense to anyone else. Certainly won't make sense to anyone else. But it might not even make sense to us. And that's okay. Listen to yourself. Why is it telling you this?
So many of us silence that quiet voice inside, the one that already knows the way. And when we ignore it, we create struggles that were never meant to exist. But why do we do this to ourselves? Rick suggests that it is because we don't realize we are in control of our own lives. We make decision after decision in fear of an outcome that may not even exist, when in reality, the life we want is waiting on the other side of trust.
We're in control of our own lives. We often don't realize we're in control, and we can make different choices. And if the things in our life are not bringing us joy and happiness, If our career that we've devoted all of our lives to isn't bringing us joy, we can change them. If we decide our relationship is not the right relationship, we don't have to suffer in that relationship. We have our own power and we can make a change, and it takes courage. But it's in everyone's best interest for us to take care of ourselves, to be in a relationship or in a job where you're phoning it in because you think it's your responsibility to do the job. There's probably someone who would do that job with passion and bring more to it than you are. And if you feel depressed and you can't manage the life you're in, you can go move to another part of the world. You can live on a beach. There's so many options available to us that we don't, we're stuck in our small story of who we are and what our lives are. And it's all a choice. And we have the power to change it. Anything in our lives that doesn't give us joy, we can change, and we can find the version that suits us. And it's not only in service to us, it's ultimately what's best for everyone.
There's a common illusion that taking control of our lives requires us to be someone extraordinary. The same illusion often surrounds the act of creating art.
I think there's a mythology that the people who make things that we love are special people, and that we think that they're, the people on Mount Olympus, and they're these magic people who are geniuses, and then there's the rest of us. And that's not the case. It's like we're all just people. We're all doing our best. We all are good at some things, not good at other things. We're humans, and sometimes we find a way to make something beautiful. But that's it. There are no special people, really. We're all special.
Sometimes people spend their entire lives chasing recognition, trying to achieve something big enough to finally feel worthy. They think that once they hit that peak, all their problems will disappear. This was not the case for Rick.
My first memory of outward success came when the first Beastie Boys album, Licensed to Ill, was the #1 album in the country. The call came, how do you feel? You have the #1 album in the country. And I remember saying, I've never been more unhappy in my life. And I think we mistakenly think some kind of outward success is going to change something in us, and it does not. It may make life more comfortable, but it doesn't change who we are. Let's say you spend 20 years of your life working towards a goal that's going to solve everything. And then you finally achieve what you've been trying to do for 20 years, toiling away. I won't have any fun because I'm working for 20 years for this end. And then you get that end and nothing changes. That's when you get hopeless. So it's not uncommon to see very successful artists who are very unhappy in life because they're working towards the thing that's going to make them feel better. And it does not make them feel better. We don't know what's going to make us happy. We're trying to fill something that maybe can't be filled through material or cultural success. It's something else. It's some internal thing.
Many people believe that happiness comes from external achievements. Yet when we look inward, we discover that true purpose arises from within. There's also a widespread misconception that living that purpose is tied to career milestones. However, this is not the case.
Maybe your job is your job, and the job is the thing that supports you. And then the rest of your waking hours are devoted to your purpose, whatever that is. I would say if you need to have a job to support yourself, that's great. That's a noble thing to do. And follow your dreams. But I'm not saying they're one thing.
Yes.
They don't have to be one thing. And don't let following your dreams undermine your ability to support yourself. It could actually do the opposite. If you decide, I want to be a comedian and I'm putting all my eggs in the comedian basket and I'm going to be a comedian, the pressure of having to support yourself will change you as a comedian, not for the better. You want the stability of being able to take care of yourself in the world, to be free to do whatever your passion is, whatever it is.
approaching 88 years of age, I wake up in the morning thinking, I'm still here. I get tearful, not through sadness, but through the wonder of having been alive. If you want to waste your life being in resentment, fine, go ahead. It's not in my can. I could carry resentment over the past, this and the other. But that's death. You're not living. You have to acknowledge one thing. Life is painful. Sometimes people get hurt. Sometimes we get hurt. But you can't live like that. When they cover the earth over you, that's it. We move on. We come full circle. We dip down to, that's all, folks. And that, it was all a dream anyway. The only meaning I can put to it is that everything I sought and yearned for found me. I didn't find it. It came to me.
There's no doubt that Sir Anthony Hopkins has lived a life full of extraordinary accomplishments and fulfillment. Yet behind that remarkable legacy lies a pivotal moment.
Now everything's changed.
A moment in 1975 when an inner voice spoke to him, forever changing the course of his life.
I was drunk, driving my car here in California, in a blackout, no clue where I was going. And it was a moment when I realized that I could have killed somebody or myself, which I didn't care about. But I could have killed a family in a car, you know. And I realized that I was an alcoholic. And I came to my senses and I said to, it was an ex-agent of mine at this party in Beverly Hills. I said, I need help. So I made the fatal phone call to an intergroup in LA, 12-step program. So we'll send somebody over to meet you. I said, no, I'll come to you. So I went to this intergroup office. So 11 o'clock precisely, looked at my watch. And this is the spooky part. Some deep, powerful thought or voice spoke to me from inside and said, it's all over. Now you can start living. And it has all been for a purpose. So don't forget one moment of it.
And it was just a voice from the blue.
From inside, deep inside me. But it was vocal, male, reasonable, like a radio voice. And it was a monotone, but it's all over. The craving to drink was taken from me, or left.
Weird stuff.
I don't know, have any theories, except the divinity, or that power that we all possess inside us, that creates us from birth, life force, whatever it is. It's a consciousness, I believe. That's all I know. But my whole life has been like that. But what happened that morning when that voice said, it's over, now you can start living, and it has all been for a purpose. So don't forget one moment of it. I knew that was a power way beyond my understanding. Not up there in the clouds, but here, in here. So I chose to call it at that moment, God. I didn't know what else to call it.
It's strange how sometimes life has to break us to wake us. Sobriety didn't just give him back his life. It revealed a new one. It's almost like this quiet voice from within guided him to simply wake up and live.
We all have problems. We've all got limitations. But I do believe that if you say, wake up and live, we actually tap into a power that's in ourselves, which helps us to do not everything, but some things. I discovered that I could compose music. I discovered that I could write. I discovered through my lovely wife, Stella, that I could paint. And I remember she was an example because she changed my life. She found some drawings in some old scripts of mine, just after we got married. She said, these drawings, you did these? I said, yeah, you got to paint. I said, I can't paint. She said, of course you can, just do it. So I then bought some canvases and acrylic paints and pens and inks. And I just do it.
Art can be a way of connecting to something pure, like the simple act of being alive. It can also allow us to express something that cannot be put into words, freedom. But something that can often hold us back from feeling free is resentment. In order to move forward in life, we have to let go of the past.
If you want to waste your life being in resentment, 50 years later, 58 years later, fine, go ahead. It's not in my camp. See, I could carry resentment over the past, this and the other, but that's death. You're not living. You have to acknowledge one thing, that we are imperfect. We're not saints. We do the best we can. Life is painful. Sometimes people get hurt. Sometimes we get hurt. But you can't live like that. You have to say, get over it. And if you can't get over it, fine. Good luck to you.
Once you release the grip of anger and resentment, the world opens in ways you never imagined. Hopkins reminds us that life isn't about controlling every outcome or keeping score of what's been done to us. It's about showing up and noticing the small miracles that surround us every day. Because when we stop carrying the weight of the past, we finally have the space to see life in all its mystery, beauty, and wonder.
Do you feel like you achieved your dreams?
Oh yeah. I didn't know if they were dreams. They just happened to me. Because I can't take credit for them at all. I cannot. I mean, my life is a mystery to me. I'm not trying to sound ultra modest or humble, but I have to confess that I don't understand how it all happened. The miracle is, look at my hands, my hands are an 87-year-old man's hands, but the miracle of it is I'm still here. And that's not a mathematical formula, that's a miracle of life that's in us all. The heart that still beats. I look at my cat, I watch him sleeping out for the count, and I look at the miracle of his life. A little cat, the miracle, the sheer miracle. To dismiss it is a sacrilege.
Hopkins finds beauty in the simple things in life. A beating heart, a sleeping cat, the hands that have carried him through decades. And yet through all these miraculous moments comes perspective. They serve as a reminder that nothing is permanent. Therefore, life cannot be taken too seriously.
If I start taking myself too seriously, I do think it's only a job, it's only acting. So for me, they're just pastiches, little dabs of paint in one's life. You get to a certain age in life, you're going through, you've got ambitions, you've got great dreams, and everything's fine. And there on the distant hill is death. And you think, well, now is the time to wake up and live and really enjoy it.
Ambition and dreams fade when you take a step back. Life isn't about achievements. It's about presence, about noticing the moments before the final curtain. With this point of view, legacy serves very little purpose.
A legacy? I never think about it. I never think about it. When they cover the earth over you, that's it. We move on. I remember I was asked by the widow of Lawrence Oliver, Joan Plowright, if I would read the last lines of King Lear at the casket in this little church in Sussex. And after that, we got into our cars and went to the crematorium. And I was sitting next to Maggie Smith, the great actress Maggie Smith. And there was the casket. And finally, there was the curtain. You could hear the rollers taking them into the crematorium, into the flames. Maggie Smith said, "What a final curtain." And you think, God almighty, what is it all about? The wonder of all that energy that had gone into his life, or anyone's life. Seeing my own father dying, going to the hospital the night he died. And I felt his feet that they put in bed. They were dead cold, he'd gone. And as I stood there, that silent night in that empty-sounding hospital in South Wales, a voice again came to me. you're not so hot either. This is what will happen to you. It's a great wake-up call when you know that. But what it is, it's an awakening, several awakenings and epiphanies. And you think, yeah, that's right. The only meaning I can put to it is that everything I sought and yearned for found me. I didn't find it. It came to me.